Alice and welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things books. Specifically today we are going to talk about writing them. This video is basically going to be a writing blog, but I am going to share with you who have clicked on this video how I wrote a 500-page book in 9 months. If you want to go ahead and click right to that chapter of this video, go ahead, that's absolutely fine. In the meantime, I'm going to give other viewers a little opportunity to hear about my work and specifically the book that I wrote. So the title of my book is called The Heir of Andromeda. I've been querying the book for about 4 months now, looking for a literary agent, and I've gotten some positive responses, but so far I haven't got an agent yet. But I'm quite happy that it's worked out that way because I'm having a lot of thoughts right now. I'm seeing benefits from those who chose to self-publish their work, and I have a very specific look for my book that I put in a lot of effort into, and I think it would be a shame to see that go to waste because a publisher decided they didn't like it. I'll give you a little overview. I don't want to show you too much though because spoilers, but I drew the chapter heading artwork. Each chapter is a little bit different, the artwork itself. My book is about the collision of the Milky Way and the Andromeda Galaxy. What I love about my book is that that's actually going to happen in 4.5 billion years time. But of course my book has been sped up so that it occurs in our time. If you want to hear more about the setting of my book, then please go and watch my friend Simon's video, specifically his podcast, where he actually interviewed me and we talked about my work and how it's been going. So please check him out and tell him that you came from my channel because that would mean a lot to me. So I drew the artwork. Me and my husband also designed the page break symbol that I had in mind, and it'd be a shame to see all that go to waste. So I am thinking about self-publishing, but we're just going to see how this year goes. We'll see how it goes, see if I hear back from any more agents. The responses I've got have been very positive, like I've said. I've had a number of agents read my full manuscript, clear their schedule to read it, and they really enjoyed it. They just felt it wasn't the right book for them to represent, and that happens because it's entirely subjective work. So it's a roller coaster. It really is for a lot of writers, and the important thing is just really to keep going, to keep trying and try new things. So today I'm going to share with you 6 points that I felt has helped me to write my book in 9 months. Just because these things have worked for me doesn't mean that they are going to work for you. Writing is essentially art, and every artist has a different process. So yeah, you can listen to what I have to say, but don't take it as the be all and end all, I suppose. There are some points in here which you've probably heard before, but I do have some unique ones that I think you will find really interesting. The first tip that helped me write my book in 9 months was staying consistent. For me, that was writing Monday to Friday for about 4 hours and writing roughly 1,000 words in that time. If I could write more, that was great. If I write slightly under, that's also fine. I was writing, I didn't necessarily try to hit a word count. It was more of the case of I tried to cross a 1,000 mark barrier. So say for example I got up to the 50,000 word count mark, say I wrote 50,226 words, then the next day I would simply try to get to 51,000 words. Sometimes that means I would write 1,000 words, sometimes it means I would write slightly under. And with that method, that little bit of flexibility, I didn't feel myself burning out. If I could give more, that was great. I would get to, I don't know, like 53,600 words, which meant the next day I could potentially only write 400 words to cross over into the next 1,000 mark barrier. And that way I felt very comfortable in my writing routine and I wasn't under stress. And it also meant that if I was having a rough day where I only would write like 500, 600 words, it was fine because I still felt like I had achieved something. I still felt like I had reached the goal that I'd set out for myself, and that way I wasn't hard on myself. Speaking of not being hard on yourself, the second point I have to talk about is give yourself a break. I would never write on weekends, and if I did, it was because I was suddenly inspired, I was feeling spontaneous, or I had an idea and I wanted to quickly jot it down, but I would not work overtime, so to speak. If I did push myself and write on the weekends, I then felt that it was affected the next week, either Monday or Tuesday, and I didn't have much to give. I felt myself getting tired, and I very quickly realised that writing weekends did not work for me. Sometimes that's different for each person. Some writers say that you should write every day regardless. That does not work for me. So figure out what works for you, but either way you do need to give yourself some rest and have a break once in a while. My third point, which is very different, and a lot of writers will not agree with me on this, which is fine, but just hear me out. My third point is do not delete your work, and that may sound like a given, but listen to what I'm talking about here. Say for example you had a good writing day, I don't know, you wrote like maybe just 500 words, so like a couple paragraphs, and you're like, oh that's good, I'll try writing the next day. If you are not in a great mindset the next day but you want to write, when you reread your work, don't go down the rabbit hole of, oh I'm a terrible writer, this is absolutely useless, and then delete all of that work that you did yesterday. Don't do that, especially if you're writing your very first novel. The fact that you were just putting pen to paper of an idea that you had, that alone is great. So your work isn't going to be perfect, but the most important point is to get the book finished so that you can then get it to the hands of an editor. So don't delete what you have done, even if you really are having those feelings of, I don't know, you're a terrible writer, which I'm sure you're not. If I went back and I had deleted work that I had done because I was having a bad day, I wouldn't have finished my book. I wouldn't have finished it. The entire point of the editing process is to reread your work and think of more eloquent ways to construct your sentences. So while you're writing the book, just simply putting the words on the page is the most important thing. Putting the ideas down there so that you can then rework it in the editing process. My fourth point is try interval writing. This was a huge help for me, and I didn't necessarily realise this is what I was doing until I watched someone else's video. So what I would do in the morning, roughly about 10 o'clock, I'd come downstairs, I'd open up my laptop, open up the document of my book that I was writing, and I would then go into YouTube and watch like my favourite YouTubers that were like inspiring me to keep going. I'd maybe watch their video for like 10 minutes with a cup of tea, and then I would go back to I would open up my document and I would write for 5-10 minutes, and in that time I'd maybe only do like 100-200 words. Then what I would do, I'd go straight back into YouTube, set a timer, and I would continue watching for another 10 minutes, and then after that I would go back into my document and I would write another 100 words, another 300 words. That way you're not burning yourself out and your creative energy is growing each time you go back into your document, because you've just been rewarded with something that you enjoy. You don't have to watch YouTube, obviously. You can, like, I don't know, watch your favourite program, play with your dog, play with your cat, do something that you enjoy for 10 minutes, go back to your writing, do another 10 minutes of writing, and then go back, do something rewarding, recreational, and then that way you're not feeling like writing is slogging hard work, and you're putting words to paper, and then before you know it, within a couple hours, you'll have like 1,000 words on the page, or 800 words, which is just as good. That process really helped me, because through that process I was able to stay consistent, and I was able to write 25,000 words every month, of my book. I think it works, and if you haven't tried interval writing, then try it. The important thing is to make sure you are setting timers, because obviously time quickly flies, especially if you're doing something that you enjoy and it's not hard work. Make sure you set a timer for watching YouTube, watching telly, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, no more than that. Then go back to your writing. That way, with that cycle continuing, you'll get your word count, I promise you. The fifth tip that I have that really helped me write my book in 9 months was looking after my body. And by that I mean eating relatively healthy. Obviously everyone has dips here and there, everyone gets a takeaway here and there. But for me specifically, it was keeping up with my exercise. I exercised 4 times a week when I was writing my book. Specifically, I really enjoy the treadmill, I still do. Every time I was on the treadmill and I was thinking about my book, I was coming up with new ideas and pathways that I could take to make the book better. If it weren't for me exercising, I don't think I would have gotten such great reviews from my beta readers and from some publishers that have already read my book. Exercise is brilliant because you get the proper chemicals flooding to your brain. You get, if I'm right in thinking, you get like dopamine. It really helps things go properly up here. Please just try it. Please look after your body. It's very important, and I honestly think that looking after your body really helps with creative processes. Loads of writers implement exercise into their writing routine, and it's definitely been beneficial for me. It's something that I've got back to having to work on because I've not been well. As I have mentioned in a previous video, I did speak about it in my last video where I actually did a reading challenge. You can click on that video right here. I'm getting back into it and it definitely has benefits. Please try it just a little bit every day, 20 minutes. You will see a difference. And my very last tip is, when you find a routine that works for you, stick with it and don't change it because a more successful writer has a different routine. I have kind of seen this happen on the internet where writers try different routines because they think that, oh, this writer's super successful, if I write the same time in the same place as them, then I will get the same results. It's not the case. So when you find a routine that works for you, stick with it and don't compare yourself to other writers. That is the worst thing to do. So all of those tips are what helped me to write my book in 9 months, my 500-page book. This is it right here. A4 format, this is like 350 pages. In A5 it's 500, so that's why it doesn't necessarily look like 500 pages. It isn't necessarily like something that, well, it did help me, but I didn't realise it was what I was doing. So I'll say this, but it's not necessarily like a tip, it's more just some advice. When you have a unique idea for your story, don't change it because someone else thinks it's a bad idea. If you came up with a really unique hook for your book and you think, oh, that's awesome, I really want to write that down, I really want to make that into something, then do it because you want to do it. Don't judge your work. Don't judge your ideas from other people. Your ideas are yours. They're not other people's. So if you have an idea for a book, just go with it. And if someone else thinks it doesn't sound that great, that's their opinion. The important thing in this writing process is that you're writing something you're passionate about. If you're not writing something that you're passionate about, that's going to reflect badly in your work. So the important thing is not to compare yourself at all during this time. Believe in yourself. If I didn't believe that I could do what I've done with my book, then it would look entirely different. And I'm very proud of the layout. As you saw, the first chapter page is black. It has a galaxy drawing on the chapter heading, which I personally drew. I hadn't picked up a pencil in 4 years when I decided to draw the chapter headings. I also drew the Andromeda Galaxy, which is in other chapter heading. But yeah, I drew the chapter headings, and if I didn't believe in myself, then my book wouldn't have the unique layout that it does. Everyone that I have shown this copy to, even though it's not in, like, it's not an actual book yet, they've wanted to read it quite simply because of how it looks. And I'm so proud of that, and so because of that I am considering going down the route of self-publishing so that I can keep the layout. I've worked so hard on it. Took me ages to draw those pictures. It took me ages for me and my husband to design the page break, because it's a custom page break that, again, I designed. My husband helped it come to life. Go with your vision and what you think will be awesome, and don't change your book for someone else. You have to do it for you, or else you're not going to get anything out of it. We've spoken about that. I am actually going to do a bit more writing. Considering my book, my first book, is actually part of a series, I am writing on book number 2 right now. I am 54,000 words in. Second book's coming along a little slower because my health hasn't been great, as I've mentioned before. Basically today, I'm not necessarily telling myself I need to get to a word count. I'm just writing to get back into the swing of things. So you're just gonna enjoy the writing session with me. I might do a couple writing sessions. I might just leave it with today. Because this video is more specifically about how I managed to do what I did with my first book, how I managed to get it finished. So yeah, I'm gonna do a bit of writing now. Probably gonna make another cup of tea, maybe a coffee. Yeah. Yesterday went really well for my writing. I was honestly thoroughly surprised at just how well things were flowing for me. I wrote 858 words, so I crossed my little 55,000 mark barrier. I made it to 55,139 words. It would be great if I could make it to 56,000 today, but I'm not going to put loads of pressure on myself. I'm just going to write, see how things go. It would be amazing if I reach my word count, but yeah, we're not really working on a deadline, we're just trying to get into the swing of things again. So yeah, I've had my breakfast, I am drinking my coffee. I'm not gonna have this video too long just because I want to see like how this writing vlog fits on my channel and if you guys enjoy it or not. So yeah, I'm gonna have this video a little bit shorter than my previous ones, but you know, short and sweet is what they say. So I'm going to get writing and I'll talk to you in a bit. you so much for watching this video. If you have made it to the very end, then you are going to leave the secret comment of the day, which is the orange heart emoji. That way I know you're a true bestie, and thank you so much for supporting me. Please like this video. It's amazing if you can do that. It really helps me out, and share it with a friend. And yeah, I will see you guys very soon. Toodles!